Dear friends, John chapter 3 verse 17, God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him. Jesus wasn't sent to condemn, and might I suggest that if Jesus wasn't sent to condemn, then neither are any of us. No human being can occupy a position of condemnation. That is not what we have been made for. This, I believe, is a great spiritual law, possibly the most important and distinctive Christian teaching, and it's intimately bound up with the nature of the cross, which will be the theme of the next few weeks, especially on Good Friday. This great spiritual law is summed up by Jesus when he teaches, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you'll be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." We need to understand that what Jesus is describing here is not what I sometimes call the great headmaster in the sky, who comes to give us our annual report, reviews our work, and then gives a verdict. No, the linkage here is much more direct and intimate. It's much more like putting your hand in a fire. There is no outside perspective watching us put our hand in the fire, making a decision that we've broken the rules, and then exclaiming, "You've broken the rules! I'm now going to make your hand hurt because I told you not to put it in the fire." No, if we put our hand in the fire, it will hurt. In the same way, if we condemn someone, it will hurt. The measure that we give will be the measure that we receive. This is because if we have a spirit of condemnation within us, then it means that we are spiritually crippled. The judgment of another is simply a symptom that displays this spiritual impoverishment. We need to understand that when we express judgment against another human being, another creature made in the image of God, it's like stretching out a hand and showing everyone that we have a bright red rash. It means that the Spirit of Christ is not in us. The measure that we give is the measure that we receive. The bright red rash, that is a symptom of our spiritual sickness. What this shows is that we believe ourselves to be condemned, that we believe ourselves to be not good enough, that we believe ourselves to have failed to achieve what we were supposed to achieve, what we ought to have achieved, what we should have achieved. What it shows is that the enemy has his claws deep in us. We need to be healed. We need to be enabled to lay down the burden of judgment, which is a burden that doesn't belong upon our shoulders. We are healed by the sign of the serpent lifted high, and all who look upon it are healed. All who have been bitten, who are diseased, who have the bright red rash across the back of their hands, look upon what is lifted up and be healed. For what is shown on the cross is the failure of condemnation. That is what condemnation looks like. That is the only conclusion to the path of condemnation, a crowd shouting, "Crucify, crucify." And of course, if we are still locked within that spirit of condemnation, that is the voice within each of us, accusing us, telling us that we deserve to be crucified. No, we are not to live with a spirit of condemnation. We are to live with a spirit of grace, for it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Freely, freely you have received. Freely, freely give. If we no longer have to condemn, if we no longer live with condemnation, if that spirit of condemnation is simply not a part of who we are, if we are in fact a people that share in Holy Communion, then we are free, free to walk in the ways of forgiveness and reconciliation. To exercise condemnation is to exercise wrath. It is a refusal to forgive. Yet to walk in the paths of grace is to say with Jesus, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." To no longer carry the burden of judgment, to have handed that over to the crucified one, is to become free and to be freed from fear. No condemnation now I dread. Jesus and all in him is mine. We look to the one who has been lifted up. We extend our hands, and the red rash of accusation is healed. Now we have clean hands, hands fit for the work of reconciliation in the world. What that work of reconciliation looks like, and how it links to the triumph of the cross, well, that's the burden of next week's sermon. Amen.